In the workplace, an ethnic minority person is most likely to be considered a soft touch, a good workhorse who will never be a troublemaker. This person is often overlooked in terms of help and advice on career progression.
The other way is the survey that we've done around BME students' progression. Of course, BME students, there are a few of them who get into university, especially somewhere like Cardiff, and their progression isn't as good as white students. And something happens in the first couple of years to do that. I know there are lots of surveys that suggest that they don't feel part of the university. We've looked at images and all that kind of stuff. So there's something happening. It's not big, it's not overt, but it's just always there. It's an undercurrent.
Working in the university environment is not race neutral. Since my arrival at Cardiff University some 18 years ago, I've seen some changes. I'm pleased that Cardiff University is beginning to recognise some of the issues and is trying to promote positive change. The question is about attitudes in the workplace, and I am continually surprised by the significant impact of conscious and unconscious bias from a member of academic staff perspective. Laws have been brought in over the years to address this, but in any workforce there is resistance to change, and that includes here, where there is still evident lack of transparency in many areas, including appointments. When forming groups or forums or defining roles or jobs, I have seen both conscious and unconscious bias lead to exclusion and restricted opportunities. Should we expect change overnight? Few would want a revolution, me included, but there is no doubt change has been too gradual and our workplace should be more inclusive.
After a terrorist incident, and remember terrorist incidents are only when Muslims commit them, not when white people do, I almost feel under pressure to justify and to explain we're not all like that, or to explain that Islam is a religion of peace or that kind of thing. So again, it's just like that kind of pressure just to justify myself and to say, these aren't Muslims, they kill more Muslims than etc., etc.
After a lengthy period of leave, it's not uncommon for an employee to find that their position relative to their colleagues has changed. And colleagues that haven't taken parental leave may have advanced their careers, while yours hasn't really changed. So it can take a little time to adjust to the workplace. Taking time away from the workplace can therefore lead to people feeling excluded from aspects of work and feel like they are missing out on opportunities that have been available to others. This may be a reason why some parents feel the need to return to work sooner than they may have wanted. Parents may be more likely to make use of flexible working opportunities offered by employers to help manage working hours and childcare arrangements. This can work out really well for everyone, but at the end of the day, a child has to be collected from daycare. There often aren't options for extending childcare, so working late or being seen to work late is not possible. To manage this, I feel working parents, especially those who work part-time, they become more efficient within their working hours. I expect employees caring for poorly relatives are in a similar situation here, with managing their working day around care arrangements.
I think there's a reticence in telling people that you're pregnant. There's a definite air of disappointment. Pregnancy is complicated at times and difficult, especially with morning sickness. If you're working on a 3-year project, you're suddenly not going to be able to see that through. You feel like you're letting people down. Throw in morning sickness, hormones, tiredness and smell aversions. The first 3 months can be like running a gauntlet. Going through promotions and new roles are difficult. Although you're told that it's not going to affect your chances, if, for example, you're going on a 12-month secondment, if you're already 4 months pregnant, that opportunity is limited. When you do come back to work, from my experience, you feel incredibly unreliable at times. If your baby gets sick, you have to leave, end of.
Working in an office, banter is always a concern. I've worked in some offices where people have thought making a joke about a trans woman and labelling them as a man in a dress was appropriate banter. Those kinds of comments make an office an uncomfortable place for all that work or visit. Challenging is hard because the response of "it's just a joke" usually follows. Learning about identities is key to understanding why such banter is not appropriate. The trans community have to face those comments or so-called jokes every day. It gets boring and it can make people feel like they're being made fun of. It's not something we should have to listen to in the workplace. People forget that trans people have families and friends, and one of them could be your colleagues. They can be hurt too. I've found the workplace that I'm always having to come out to people about my gender identity. Any new person I meet that gives me a quizzing look when I say something about being trans, or when I apply for a new role and I have to explain I prefer to use gender-neutral facilities or can't work really long hours because I bind my chest flat, I get tired of always having to tell people this thing about me. When I first started at university, I held myself away from everyone except my supervisor. I was so scared of how people react. I was worried that people wouldn't want to work with me or I'd be the subject of gossip. But the experience has been positive, listening to my needs and understanding my identity so that everyone can feel safe within the workplace. It has led to more colleagues and students being open about their own identity and communication from colleagues who have a trans family member or friend that want to know how to support them. Support from employers and colleagues can help trans employees feel confident to be themselves, both within and outside the workplace. I worry about moving to a different role within university and how I'll be accepted and if I'll find the same inclusion and understanding as I've found in my current department.
When a disabled person is trying to progress their career, it's not just the 9-to-5 routine they have to focus on. They have to attend networking events, speak to people, and sort of build their career. And then to do that, they need opportunity. And often a lot of networking events are put on without disability in mind, or the ability. So creating access to these events is a big problem. In addition to that, there's an attitude that perhaps because a person has a disability and may need to leave for medical reasons, that they're somehow not that reliable in their work, and that they somehow have to make that time up elsewhere, even though that can be rather difficult at times.